The average man over 50 has a retirement gap of approximately $400,000. Not a slightly off gap, not a one good side hustle and you're fine gap. $400,000 between what he has saved and what he will actually need to not run out of money before he runs out of heartbeats. And the part nobody puts in the brochure, most of that gap wasn't created by a bad market. It wasn't one catastrophic decision, one divorce, one crash. It was created by 7 specific, predictable, almost perfectly invisible mistakes that happen so gradually that by the time you see them, they're already done. This video is not about motivation. It's about the math behind why so many men who did everything right end up in their late 50s running the numbers and going very, very quiet. This silence is the sound of a generation realizing that the standard path was a calculated mirage. According to the Federal Reserve's 2022 survey of consumer finances, the median retirement savings for Americans aged 55 to 64 is roughly $185,000. To put that in perspective, we look at the Trinity study, the gold standard of retirement research. It suggests a safe withdrawal rate of 4% to ensure your money lasts 30 years. When you apply that 4% rule to the median savings of $185,000, it generates approximately $7,400 per year. That breaks down to $616 a month. After 30 years of sacrificing your mornings, your health, and your presence at the family dinner table, the system offers you a check that barely covers a modest grocery bill and a basic utility payment. Most men believe they are the exception to the rule, but math has no favorites. If you haven't run your specific numbers in the last 6 months, you are likely navigating by a map that was drawn for a different century. Most men spend their careers optimizing for income, which is the speed at which you are running. Income is visible. It shows up on a pay stub. It determines the car you drive, and it provides a constant dopamine signal that you are winning. But income is a flow. It is the water coming out of the faucet. Wealth is a stock. It is the water staying in the bathtub. The biological trap is lifestyle inflation. As your income grows, your brain demands that your lifestyle expands to match your status. You earn $100,000, then $130,000, then $170,000. Each raise is immediately swallowed by a bigger mortgage, private school tuition, or a more expensive zip code. You feel wealthy because you spend wealthy adjacent money, but you are actually just a high-speed courier for your own cash. You receive it from your employer and immediately hand it to the bank and the service providers. If the faucet turns off tomorrow, the tub is empty in 90 days. When you look at your retirement statement, you might see a management fee or an expense ratio of 1%. It sounds like a rounding error. It is actually a slow-motion heist. To understand the gravity, let's look at the math of $200,000 invested over 30 years with an average market return of 7%. Scenario A, no fees. Your money grows at 7% and becomes approximately $1,522,000. Scenario B, with 1% fee. Your money grows at 6% and becomes approximately $1,148,000. The difference is $374,000. That money wasn't lost in a market crash. It was quietly extracted month by month by the institution managing your funds. They take their percentage whether you win or lose. They take it when you are sleeping and when you are working. Over a career, you're essentially handing over nearly 25% of your total potential wealth to a middleman from management that statistically fails to beat a simple low-cost index fund 80% of the time. Most men have a guy at the bank they've known for years. They trust him because he remembers their kids' names and sends a branded calendar every December. But in the financial world, trust is not a legal requirement. Most advisors at large banks and insurance companies operate under the suitability standard. This means they're like a salesman at a furniture store. They're not allowed to sell you a chair with 3 legs, but they're perfectly allowed to sell you the most expensive, high-commission share in the warehouse, even if a cheaper one would have been better for you. They are not fiduciaries. A fiduciary is legally required to put your interests first. A suitable advisor is legally allowed to put their commission first, as long as the product isn't actively unsuitable. If you don't know which one you have, you are the one paying for their Christmas bonus. Truth 4. The sequence of returns, the timing trap. You can do everything right and still lose if the calendar is against you. This is the sequence of returns risk. Imagine two men, both with $500,000, both averaging a 6% return over 20 years. Man A retires into a bull market. His first few years see 10% gains. He builds a massive cushion. Even when a crash eventually happens, his base is so large that he survives easily. Man B retires into a bear market. In his first 2 years, the market drops 20%. He still needs to withdraw $30,000 a year to pay for his life. He's forced to sell his shares at the very bottom. His base is destroyed. Even when the market recovers, he has so few shares left that he can never catch up. The order in which you get your returns matters more than the average. If you don't have a plan for a bad start, you are betting your entire future on the luck of your retirement date. Truth 5. The primary residence mirage. The American dream says your house is your greatest investment. The cold math of Robert Shiller, a Nobel Prize economist, says otherwise. Over the last century, after adjusting for inflation, the average American house has a real appreciation rate of only 0.6% per year. Meanwhile, your house is an asset that demands to be fed. You pay property taxes, which is usually 1.2% of the house's value, insurance and maintenance. The National Housing Builders recommends budgeting 1 to 2% of the house's value annually for repairs. On a $500,000 home, that is $5,000 to $10,000 going out of your pocket, not compounding. A house provides stability and a place to live, but it is a liability in the sense that it takes money out of your pocket every month. If the majority of your net worth is tied up in the 4 walls you live in, you aren't an investor. You're a landlord who pays for his own room. Truth 6. The Social Security longevity gap. Social Security was created in 1935. At that time, the average life expectancy for a man was 61 years old. The full retirement age was 65. The math was designed so that most workers would die before they collected a single check. Today, if you reach age 65, there is a high probability you will live to 85 or 90. The average benefit today is roughly $1,900. If you haven't built your own personal pension through diversified assets, you are relying on a 90-year-old safety net to fund a 21st century life. Many men in their 50s tell themselves they will work just 1 more year to catch up. But catch-up is a mathematical myth if your spending remains high. If you work an extra year but use that income to maintain an expensive lifestyle, you haven't closed the gap, you've just delayed the inevitable. The most expensive thing a man can own is a lifestyle he can't afford to walk away from. The only way to win is to decouple your happiness from your consumption. If you don't learn to live on less while you're still working, you will be forced to learn it when it's too late to change the outcome.
The solution. The 6 pillars of survival. Pillar 1. The fiduciary audit. Go to advisorinfo.sec.gov. Look up your advisor. If they are not a registered fiduciary, they are a salesman. Ask them, are you legally required to put my interests first for every product you recommend at all times? Get the answer in writing. If they refuse, move your money to an advisor who works for a flat fee or a small percentage of assets rather than commissions. Pillar 2. Eliminate the friction. Log into your accounts and find the expense ratio. If you are paying more than 0.20%, you are overpaying for mediocrity. Move your money into low-cost index funds from providers like Vanguard or Fidelity. This single change can add $100,000 plus to your retirement over the next decade. Pillar 3. The Monte Carlo stress test. Stop using linear calculators. Use a Monte Carlo simulation. This tool tests your plan against 1,000 different market scenarios, including high inflation and early market crashes. You want a success rate of 85% or higher. If your success rate is 60%, your plan is a coin flip. Pillar 4. The 3-year cash shield. To beat sequence of returns risk, you need a buffer. As you approach retirement, build a cash bucket containing 3 years of living expenses. When the market drops, you stop withdrawing from your stocks. You live off the cash shield for 3 years, giving the market time to recover. Pillar 5. The Social Security leverage. For every year you delay claiming Social Security after your full retirement age, your benefit increases by 8%. This is a guaranteed inflation-adjusted return backed by the government. There is no investment in the stock market that can guarantee an 8% annual raise. Delaying till 70 is often the best financial move a man can make.
Pillar 6. Track net worth monthly. Build a spreadsheet. List every asset, cash, 401k, IRA, home value. Subtract the debt from the assets. That is your net worth. Track this number every 30 days. If it isn't growing, you aren't getting wealthier, you're just getting older. The man at the kitchen table doesn't need a hot tip. He needs to realize that his retirement is a mechanical problem with a mechanical solution. The $400,000 gap is not a death sentence. It is a signal to pull over and check the gauges. The mistakes most men make are invisible because they are gradual. 1% here, a lifestyle upgrade there, a house that feels like an asset but acts like a bill. But the beauty of math is that it works both ways. Once you patch the leaks, the ship starts to rise. The tire isn't flat yet. You still have time to pull over. You still have time to fix the math. But the road is getting shorter, and the sun is going down. Check your gauges, patch the leak.